it could be stifling businesses out there. And one of the things I have done, I've also got a bill out there on for a cost-benefit analysis for the FCC when they're promulgating rules, and at the very beginning and also at the final rule. And because, the things that we've heard that they're looking at, of course, are either, what those cost benefits would be that either would or should the FCC consider, and the costs are largely the cost of businesses of complying with a new regulatory regime, i.e. creating new compliance regime, training employees, changing billing, other back office systems. Yeah, the lost revenue that businesses could be lost from the new prohibited engaging in particular business models that would be prohibited under the new regulation, and the cost of productivity in the businesses. And one of the things, if I may, Ms. Averett, if I could ask you first, is in your unique role as a former FCC commissioner and also at Frontier, what you would see would be able to comment on this idea from the FCC's perspective and also from Frontier, if they would have to do a cost-benefit analysis.
I think it's appropriate for a number of proceedings to engage in the cost-benefit analysis, because at the end of the day, if the costs drive up our costs to consumers and the overall incremental information that is potentially provided to the FCC is de minimis, that makes no sense. And sometimes what happens in the context of looking at various rules and regs is the commissioners have the best of intentions, but they haven't really thought through the costs and the burdens on the industry, and it's backwards. And so I think it would make a big difference.
Let me ask you this. Are there, looking at what's happened in the recent past with the FCC, could you comment on any more recent rules that would have benefited from a cost-benefit analysis?
I could get back to you in writing afterwards, just because I need to look back.
I appreciate that. Mr. May, I know in your testimony that you've addressed on page 2, your last paragraph there, that you said in the taking them generally in order that they appear in the bill draft. I want to especially endorse a provision that would require the agency, and you go on to also state that perform a cost-benefit analysis. Just get your read on that a little bit farther on the cost-benefit analysis.
I think generally this would be a good requirement to impose on the FCC. I take Professor Levin's point that it's worth thinking about whether it should be for every rule, and the answer is it may not be, but there's a lot of economically significant rules that the FCC proposes now. I think of bill shock, net neutrality, the data roaming bill it just did. All of those are the types of rules that have cost and benefits, and I think the FCC, obviously it does some of this now, but as I said earlier, because historically it's tended to focus, again, in 103 places it has authority to act in the public interest, and because that's so indeterminate, it has, in my view, a bit of with respect to all past commissioners, it's got a bit of a mindset, to think of things in a way that's not economically as rigorous as it should be in today's environment, which is at least increasingly a competitive, fast-changing marketplace environment.
Yeah, and my remaining time, Mr. Ramsey, I know on page 7 of your testimony today that you state that still logically analysis of a rule's potential benefits and costs as well as milestones for its review could focus available resources and expertise on the efficiency of any proposed rule. And just your comment on any other comment on cost-benefit analysis.
Well, the only thing I said in my testimony is true, is that the nature of regulation and the nature of regulatory oversight is a balance of competing interests. The APA already requires agencies to specify the basis and explain why they're doing things. We haven't taken a specific position on the application of a strict cost-benefit test, so I can't speak to that. But I think I also noted in my testimony that it's certainly consistent with executive orders dating back to, I think, Gerald Ford.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I see my time's expired, and I yield back.
Mr. Latta, thank you for your participation in the hearing. I want to